If you're an academic who's looking to keep your goals and habits and courses and projects, all of that organized in one tool, then this month's video theme is for you. We're talking about Notion all month, and we're going to start with some habit tracking and goal setting, gamification as well, and then we're going to move into more teaching, research, service specific approaches to using this tool, and then a few advanced options in case you do want to get into more depth into using Notion. So let's go ahead and dive in. Though if you don't know me, I'm Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. So subscribe to not miss out on content like that. Now let's go ahead and dive in. This is the main page of Notion. The dashboard is what we're covering in a future week this month. But on the left here, you'll see my various pages. And so in today's video, we're covering the My Habits and the Gamify Your Life. Starting with the My Habits, because again, in this case, I just wanted to show you from very simple to more advanced ways of tracking your goals, your habits for the term or the year, the quarter, whatever the case may be. If you want to make sure that you're living your best life, then here is a tool you can use to get organized and to track your progress. So on the top here, a few things to, in case you've never used Notion before, a few things to make clear. When you begin, it's just a blank page here. And so this is called the cover, right? So on the top here, in addition to add comment, you would see add cover and add icon. So you would just do that, and then you can change the cover, you can reposition the cover depending on your preference. It does have Unsplash, which is these stock images that you can use, or you can upload your own image in case you want to like add a vision board to the top for this page. And then again, the icon you can click and you can change it up too. But that's the top here. And then you obviously title the page. So in this case, I called it My Habits. And so we're going to show 3 different approaches depending on how much work, how much time you want to put into this particular page. So the very basic approach, which is still not as simple as just adding text, right? So I guess the first stage could just be, let me go down here. You can just backslash, and then it opens up all the basic blocks that you could add. So you can look through that, but you could potentially just do like heading 2 and then say, January, and then, type week 1, and then, type week 1, and then just do it by text, right? But in that case, right, so you can add a to-do list, which would be a checklist. And so you can say, week 1, I want to do X, Y, and Z. But that's, I feel, not very helpful because you're going to get very little data from it because you're just doing everything by hand. So rather, the simple approach I'm telling you to do here is creating a very simple database, right? Because database gives you analytics, which I find to be very helpful. And so in this case, there's the most simple way of approaching this is you add a database, and then on the left-hand side, you just add, okay, well, these are the habits that I want to do. And then you just add a checklist to each of these, right? So you just keep going here. I can add over here, and I say I want to add a checkbox, and I click that, and this one's called 8, right? Representing day 8. Like, okay, great. And so now I have day 8 here, and I keep going until I have the 31 days of January. And then down here, when you say add a third habit, right, the checkpoint goes to every single line, right? You don't have to redo it every single time. So this is what I recommend for the most basic approach of habit tracking is having, okay, here's the month, and then here's the name for each of the habits I want to do, and then curate the checklist across the database, okay? So just starting from scratch, right? Because obviously this already existed. I wanted you to see how it looked. So what this is, right? I'm going to click to add below, and I'm going to say I want to add a database. Let's do a table view, right? Because that's a very simple view. So here is a table view, right? It's totally blank here. So again, you're going to call this, let's call it February just to differentiate, right? February habit tracker. And then you see here the name, right? So again, habit 1. So this might be, 30 minutes
of exercise that you want to do every day. And then you also want to do 30 minutes of reading every day, and so on, right? So you have this, and then you, again, do that plus sign, you're adding a checkbox, and then you're calling it, day 1, right? And then all the way down until you have the right number, 28 in this case. Now up here, you'll see at the very end of this particular tab, you can click and you can drag it, so it's obviously much smaller, so that you can have most of the days on this main page here. And so that's how it works. Then when you want to use it, you go in and you say, yep, I did 30 minutes on day 1. I click, and now you can see which ones you've done here, right? So if I just kind of do this to show you, right? At a quick glance, you can see, hey, I've done this habit, 4 times so far. I wanted to make sure I do this more, and so on. So it's a really easy view here. And then just to kind of show you here, I call this habits table. That's simple to do too. You just click on the table and you say rename, and you want to call it habits table. Okay, so this is, again, very simple approach 1. For a more intermediate approach, this does take more time, but it gives you a lot more information. You can create reoccurring pages for each day of the week, and then this can give you more information because you can see it in a calendar view. In this first easy one, there's no date information, so it can't turn into a calendar. But down here, I basically made every single day of the week a template, right? So on the right here, you can add a new template. So I made every single day a template, just called Monday through Sunday. And then I'd say I wanted to repeat every week on Monday in this case, right? And then, over here, it's recurring on Sunday, okay? So in that case, when you do it this way, come the next morning, in this case, Sunday will pop up tomorrow, and then Monday the day after, and you'll go down a list with the day of the week, the specific date of that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc., the habits that you're doing, and how much you completed in that particular day, right? So since I did 1, it's 50%. I did 2, it's 100. So obviously, as you get more habits, you can get more specific with your progress here. So this is more advanced because you have to create that template that reoccurs, and then you have to create a formula here. But what I like is you have the regular table view, and then you also have the calendar view because you have that date information. So you can see at a glance the habits that you're doing, how often, your progress, all in one view here. Okay, so this is the more intermediate approach, and we're going to just show you very simple. I'm not going to go too detailed into creating this, but let's go ahead and add another table database below this to kind of show you here the approach, right? So let's call it habit tracker. And then in this case, we're adding nothing here, right? Nothing yet. Instead, we're going to go ahead and say, hey, I want to add a new template. I'm going to call it Monday. And then we're going to add properties. So those habits and the progress across the table horizontally, those are all properties. So we're going to add a property. And in this case, we're going to add a date first, right? So we're going to add a date. And there we go. It's currently empty. I want that date to be the 6th. And then we're going to add a property. We're going to add that checkbox, and it's going to be, let's say, 30 minutes of exercise. Add property, checkbox, 30 minutes reading. There we go. So we have those. I'm going to move the date up because I want that to appear first. So we have those 3, and then you have to add the progress bar. So in that case, that's a formula. That's why it's more advanced. The formula is going to be called progress, that particular part of the table. And we're going to head and edit the formula. I'm pasting this here just to make it really easy to remember. But basically, we're going to tell the formula is like, hey, for my habits, I want you to change them into numbers. If I do the checkbox, if I click it, it's 1. If I don't, it's 0. And then we're going to divide it by, of course, however many habits you have to get that average. So we start here with the to number, and then my first habit is my 30 minutes of exercise, and then plus my second habit here is my reading, and then it is divided by 2 because there are 2 habits here. So I click save there. And then we have to do a little more information here. So the number format, I want it to be a percentage because I want to say how my percentage of completed habits for that day. I want the progress to be shown as a bar. The bar should be purple, right? And so now you have this information here, and I want it to be underneath, so that works out totally fine. We're going to exit out, right? And so now we have a Monday template. Now, of course, you have to go ahead and say, I want this to repeat. I want it to repeat weekly on a Monday, and then take off this one, right? Starting today, January 4th, so that's totally fine, because then come the first Monday, it will pop up here in the habit tracker, right? So now we have that default. You don't see it here because, again, Monday hasn't happened. Just to make this easy, though, I'm going to click it, and then Monday's appearing here manually. I will delete this because if not, you'll get 2 Mondays because it will populate again come Monday. But just so you can see it, right? So now it has Monday. Let's say you did 30 minutes of exercise. It says you've done 50% of your habits for that day. Again, I want that date to be up here. And so now you have the beginning of this table. So again, you would just go in, create a new template, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. Right? So you do here's Tuesday. It has this information here. So we'll go ahead and say the 7th, because that's the first Tuesday you'll use it. All this is already there. So we exit out here. And now you go in and you say, hey, I want to repeat it weekly. It's going to be repeating every Tuesday. Save. And so now you have that one as well, right? And again, come Tuesday, it will populate on this table with the same information here. So this is obviously a lot more advanced because you can see the day of the week as well as the actual date. You see all the habits across, similar to before in the easier one, but also the progress. And then what you can do is you can go here. So this is table view, right? And you can click this to rename it, right? If you wanted to. But here is the table view. But you can say, hey, I want to add another view, and I want the view to be calendar. So now you'll see this information here, right? So you see that Monday that we added in just to be able to show you. But you'll notice that you don't see any information immediately. You just see Monday. So what you can do is on the top right here, this little asterisk, and you say, hey, great, I like the calendar, but you're only showing one property. You're showing the name. I also want to see the habits, and I want to see the progress. I don't care so much about the date because obviously it's already in the calendar. So now you automatically see this information every single time this calendar is populated, right? And so we can exit out here, and you see this information on Monday. And again, when you add Tuesday, it will also populate this way, Wednesday, and so on. So this is one way of creating a auto-generating calendar of your habits in this database. Now, maybe you want to be able to see this across the whole month rather than having to wait for each day for it to populate automatically from that, reoccurring task. Well, that's designed a bit differently. So in that case, if you go back to the table here, then you can just add a template and call it today. You can leave the day empty here. It still has these habits. It still has a progress, and then exit out of here. And then when you have the calendar view, you can just say, okay, let's go back here. So I want to add today. Okay. And then exit out. And so now it appears I want to add this one here too, the today, exit out. And so in that case, there's no reoccurring thing here. It's just that you are manually adding that list to every single day of the month. And so now you see it all at once. And then again, you can kind of, mark it down here if you want. Here if you want, if you prefer this view. And you don't have to wait for the reoccurring task to kick in and make it appear on day 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's just personal preference. If you prefer to do it that way, then you can just go ahead and go here and, make a template call today so that, these same properties appear every single day. It's all there at once. If you want, you can go in and call this Friday. And now it's called Friday, and you can call this one Saturday in case you do want to change the name. So it's not just today across the whole calendar, but it's also up to you. So that's a different way of doing it. But in that case, you don't have to do that reoccurring. You see this calendar all at once, and then you kind of just go forward, month after month. Now, the more advanced approach, I'm not going to show you how to make because I learned it from a video on YouTube. So I'm going to just link the video below that was incredibly helpful for this one and also the gamifying your life, which we'll get to in a minute here. But in this case, just kind of show you around in case you want to see if it's worth watching that video and creating it. So we have here, various views. So I have my daily habits. Here they're all listed here. So again, like, oh yeah, I did my 30 minutes already. I already worked on my research today. I did my self-care activity. And so it has that progress bar. It tells you how much you've done this day. And then on the right, I obviously see the calendar, that same thing, right? So it's populating here and I can see it all at once, whether or not I accomplished it. And then down here, in this case, it's a progress of the day. Like I've done half of them for the day, 66%, etc. But then I added an analytics database, right? So again, more advanced. And it tells me, okay, I've done the exercise 100% so far this month. I've done the water half the time this month, the research 100%, the teaching half the days. And so this gives you an overall look at your progress for the whole month, right? As the days continue, obviously the percentage changes. So this is, again, more advanced. It takes more time. I'll link that video in case you're interested there. And then something else to consider is she goes over how to create charts. And on the free account of Notion, you can only create one chart. And let's say you delete the chart, you can't make another one. Like it's one and done. So you want to make sure you choose that chart very carefully if you have the free version and you don't plan on upgrading. But what you have here is a chart that has the habit completion rate in this like line graph. That I think is pretty cool too. So I can see like, okay, how are my habits going, right? And this is all the habits at once, right? So on January 1st, I did half my habits. And January 2nd, I did 67% and so on. And so again, as each day comes, the tracker gets bigger and you can track through and see how much you've accomplished in your goals for that month. So again, this is only one chart per free account. So you want to choose this carefully. But I still think it's pretty awesome to see this analytics aspect of like, hey, across the whole month, how many times did you do that habit percentage wise? I think it's pretty cool to see. So if you do want to do this one, go ahead and take a look at that video that I've linked below. Now that same creator had a video about gamifying your life and using Notion to create this gamification. And it reminded me of the earlier video I watched about gamification. I have a video about creating a spreadsheet in Google using that first video as inspiration. But then I happened across this other one on YouTube. YouTube knows me well. And I thought this was amazing. Like it looks so cool. It's much easier to use than the checklist, than the spreadsheet, because in the spreadsheet you have to remember like, hey, did I mark this on this day? Have I not marked it yet? Well, in this case, it's much easier to do. And so this is another video link below, much longer video, because again, obviously this is way advanced here, in my opinion. But I did manage to create it, and I actually tweaked it because she doesn't cover reoccurring tasks, which I only found out once I created the whole thing. And I realized that was going to be an element that wouldn't work because once the next day started, none of these tasks appeared on this table because they weren't reoccurring. But it's that same process, right? So if you do want to do it here, I'm going to change this so you can see. So this is gallery view, so it looks like this. But if we turn back to table view, right, the usual view you use to, build stuff, what I had to do is I had to make, again, a template for every single one of my habits that I'm tracking for this gamification, and I had to make it recur every single day, right? Even though I don't do these every single day, I want them to appear every single day because sometimes I'll garden, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I clean, sometimes I won't. I just want it to appear every single time to make it easy for me. And then I just know that I'm not completing all of them at once. But so just keep that in mind. If you do want to use the gamification video that I'm sharing below, again, it's amazing. I love this. But when she creates these tasks, you want to create templates for these tasks and make them reoccurring daily so that way they'll actually appear every single day. Now, also, she did not cover creating this table of like levels, like area levels, because in my original video about gamification, it's basically like you have these habits, and then after you, and each habit is worth a certain amount of points. And once you do the habit enough time to gain enough points, then you level up as a character or in the area. And so she doesn't cover that at all. It's two different people who made these videos. And after going through and curating what I did with the video about doing this Notion template, I knew enough about formulas in order to create this level section as well. And so if you watch that whole video, it's like an hour long, and you do the things, like you should be able to figure out how to create extra elements in case you do want to have the levels here. But as a quick tour to kind of show you this and see if you want to do it, I'm going to actually change this back to the gallery view. So what happens here is you have the character. Here's me, Erica. Here's today's date. And then on today, here's how many points I've collected so far, how many current experience points I have, and then all time, XP, and what level I am in. So I started this month, so obviously I'm in early days. And then today, right? Today I've completed 15% of my task here, and I completed 3 of the 20. So again, I'm not trying to complete all 20 every single day. So this is red because it's 3 out of 20. Once I hit a certain number, though, 7, right? Up to 7, it's red. And then from 8 to 14, it's yellow. And then if it's over 15, then it's green, right? So I have that kind of progress showing too of like, all right, great, I'm out of the red, I'm into the yellow, can I get into the green? So this, again, I had to do myself. It's not based off of the video because that was just like, did you do them all or not? But once you go through the whole video, you kind of get a handle of the formula creation. So that's, me here. And then you have on the right tasks. So every single day, the tasks appear. I have here uncompleted ones. And so once I do it, then I can go ahead. So let's say I take my vitamin, right? I say done. It disappears from uncompleted. And now it's in completed. These are the ones I've done so far today. And then below it, I have the various areas of my life where I am working on leveling up. So you have all these. And again, it tells you in total, like so far since I started doing this, how many points I've gathered for each of these different ones. And then if you go here, this is what I made. So I have, all right, here's how many points I've gathered. Here's what level I am for each of these areas of my life. And once again, you make a formula, right? So once it reaches 150, level up, 300, level up, 450, level up, etc. And then her second video, she has a part 2 that's linked in like the first comment of the original video, is creating a reward system. So in this case, let's say I get enough XP points that this becomes available, I can claim the reward and, in this case, get a piece of cute clothing. And then that will decrease my current XP because it takes away the money, the XP I use to buy, so to speak, the reward. But I will still know what my all-time XP is down here. This will just be like the XP that I've gained minus any that I used for the reward system. So again, this is very advanced. It took me a while to curate, but I do like gamification. I think this is very intriguing. I've been keeping up with it very easily every single day so far. Of course, we're early days, but I am excited to see how this, will help me in progressing with my goals. So I'll link again this video as well, but keep in mind, you do want to make templates so that things don't go terribly wrong when it's day 2 and nothing appears on your task list.
If you found this video helpful, click like and let me know, and subscribe to not miss out on what's coming up about Notion and into the other videos of the year. If you're new to teaching, go ahead and look at some of the links I have below that have different themes when it comes to teaching life. I'll see you next time.